Hello everybody, welcome back to Elementary Greek. We continue today in Mount's chapter 17 with what are called contract verbs. With these we'll still be in the present active indicative, that is the present tense, the active voice, and the indicative mood. So that should help you for now as you parse. Everything will be present active indicative as far as verbs go. Key terms we'll encounter. Contract verbs, there are three classes, the alpha class, the epsilon class, and the omicron class. We'll encounter something called the contract vowel. And then at the end, we have something very special, a discussion about a digamma. What? What's different about contract verbs is their stems. If you look at luo, remember, to find the stem, you drop the omega. That's the first person singular personal ending, leaving you with lu as the stem. Look now at agapao. This is a contract verb. When you drop the omega personal ending, you end up with a vowel at the end, that second or third alpha. That's what's called the contract vowel. And that's what's going to cause the problems, the greater difficulty of the conjugations of these verbs, is that final contract vowel is going to contract with the vowel of the personal endings. And I'll show you in a moment what those contractions will look like. Now you might be thinking, isn't luo a contract verb? It has a stem ending in a vowel. And the answer is technically no, it's not. It's similar to this third verb here, paiduo. When you drop the omega, you get paidu as your stem. That upsilon there in both luo and in paiduo will remain. It will not contract with the personal endings. So here are the rules of contraction. Any of these three combinations, epsilon omicron, omicron epsilon, and omicron omicron, will yield the diphthong omicron upsilon. That is, they will contract to omicron upsilon. The combination epsilon epsilon will contract to epsilon iota. And now, almost any combination of omicron or omega and another vowel will become omega. And the exceptions to that will just be the combinations you see in rule number 1. Any other time, omega will win. Omega will be the strongest, most dominant vowel in any combination. We'll simply swallow up anything else, like this poor cheerleader. The combination alpha epsilon will become alpha, whereas epsilon alpha will become eta. So notice there, depending on which vowel comes first, that's the vowel that wins. Alpha wins first in 4, and epsilon becomes simply a long epsilon, or an eta, in 5. Omicron epsilon iota, you have a complicated combination there. Just know that it simply becomes omicron iota. For diphthongs, your two epsilons are simply going to simplify here, and the iota will stay. Here, the alpha will win and the iota will subscript. And rule number 8, you can probably just gloss over for now. It's not as important. The other 7, though, are important to learn. You will probably want to memorize these. This will help you a lot in your conjugation of contract verbs. So here's your contraction table. If you look at the combinations, down here in the right and bottom, omega is winning all of these battles. And then the rest, this simply summarizes what we've just said in the form of rules previously. So your two alphas there, giving you alpha. And here's your supreme omega, omega supreme, the name of a transformer from back in the day. So here's what we do. We use a certain paradigm verb for each class of contract verb. For the alpha class contract verbs, we use agapao with your alpha contract vowel. For the epsilon class, we use poieo. As you see there, epsilon is your contract vowel. And then for the omicron class, we use plerao. So here's what it's going to look like when everything's done. I've got the conjugation for you here. The forms in parentheses are the pre-contracted forms. So look in the first person singular, agapao. That is technically a theoretical form of the verb. It will never be agapao in any real Greek text. Why not? Well, because alpha and omega by nature will always contract and omega will always win. So in reality, when you see this in any Greek text, it will look as such, agapo. The circumflex is there because contraction has occurred. So that's going to be your key in many cases that you've got a contract verb, is that omega on the vowel of the personal ending. So if you look through and consider the rules we just looked over, the forms that we get are just the result of the contraction rules. Alpha epsilon by rule becomes alpha and the iota subscripts. Alpha epsilon becomes alpha and the iota subscripts. Here omega is going to win. Here alpha will win. And here it becomes omega because of the omicron there. So the best way to memorize these, in my opinion, is simply to recite them over and over until you think you know them, and then to write them out over and over until you get them perfect. So if you recite them and say you get stuck, that's a good time to invoke your contract rules and ask yourself, well, that doesn't sound right, but if I work through the rules, alpha epsilon is going to become alpha. Okay, this is going to be agapa. Okay? So I would practice it like this. Agapo, agapas, agapa, agapomen, agapata, agaposen. Okay, try it. Agapo, agapas, agapa, agapomen, agapata, agaposen. Do that over and over and over. Remember, learning Greek is all about repetition. It's about finding those small study sessions, a few seconds as you walk out the door, a few minutes as you sit waiting for a ride. Instead of picking up your phone or your device, spend that time doing something constructive like mastering Greek. Here's the epsilon class. And again, if you went through your contract rules, you would see that it makes perfect sense why you get the final forms you do, resulting in poio, poies, poie, poiumen, poieta, poiusen. Okay, try it. Poio, poies, poie, poiumen, poieta, poiusen. Poio, poies, poie, poiumen, poieta, poiusen. And that's how you learn Greek. For the omicron class, play ro, play royce, play roy, play rumen, play ruta, play rusen. And now you. Play ro, play royce, play roy, play rumen, play ruta, play rusen. That's all there is to it. Recite them till you know them, and write them out till you get them perfect. For the vocab, read through the same way we've just done. Recite them out loud, preferably 2 or 3 times. Once you've mastered the chapter 17 vocabulary, you will know 69.744% of the total word count in the New Testament. That's something to be proud of. You're at 70%. Congrats. What we're going to do now is listed in the advanced section in the chapter, but actually I think this is very interesting, and as you go on, you'll find it very helpful to understand the basic concept. It's about something called the digamma. This actually was a letter that once existed in the Greek alphabet. It looks like an F. It's not an F, it's digamma. And the digamma dropped out of the alphabet early on, before our earliest written Greek literature. And when that happened, it caused all kinds of problems for words because of the lack. Words made up for its lack in various ways, as we'll see in just a second. It was pronounced like an English W, wa, and if you've taken Latin, you know that the Latin V also was pronounced like wa, So if you look at the Latin word for wine, vinum, obviously bears resemblance to the English word wine. But it also bears resemblance to the Greek word oinos. How so? What's happened here is that the word once began with a digamma, where it was pronounced winos. When the digamma fell out, the word felt it needed to compensate for the loss, and you get the diphthong oinos. This sort of thing is going to happen often in Greek. when you appear to have words that are just randomly transforming forms, it's explicable on the principle that you had something like a digamma drop out and compensation occur.